Okay, you've started.
Hello, children. Joey, one of my sons, thought this would be nice for everyone to know. And I'm going to tell you what I remember from a little girl in Ireland. What I remember is I was in a convent. My brother said he was in that same convent, but I didn't know about that. I just heard that not long ago, just before he died. But I remember being in the convent, and one night a little girl was talking to me, and I didn't want to talk anymore, so I turned my back. I said, I'm not going to talk anymore. I want to go to sleep. So everything was quiet and that, and I thought I went to sleep, but I didn't have a chance, because the clothes that I was covering myself up with were pulled right down to my feet. And I was going to get a little bit upset with the girl that did it, because we were both little girls. And but I saw a nun standing at the bottom of the bed, and she pulled my bedclothes right down to my feet. And as I watched her, she disappeared. And I couldn't move. I couldn't move my hands or anything. I was so afraid. I was petrified. So right beside my bed there was a wall with a little window, and I knocked at the window when I come where I could move. And the head sister pulled the little window back, and she said, what is the matter? And I said, I told her what I just saw. So she said, oh, don't worry about that. She said, that's Sister such and such, and she used to be a nun here, but she isn't anymore. So that's what I remember of that story, and that's all I remember right then. I told you the one about the nun. Now the next thing I remember was that my dad and another lady came into the convent and said that they wanted to take me home. Now this wasn't my mother, but anyway, I went. I was kind of happy, you know, and just being a little girl. So he brought me to this lady's house, and she had 2 children. Now I started feeling, I think, like Cinderella. As I grew up, I look back at it. That's what I seemed to be happening. So she'd have me go out and get a bucket of water, this is in Ireland, and bring it in, and a little girl now I was, and bring it into them, and then she'd send me to the store to get us some cigarettes. And I'm telling you the things I remember, and I was there for a while. But one day she said to me, now, she got a whole pile of handkerchiefs. She said, you put these on the fire. So me, just a little girl, thought, well, that's strange. Why does she want me to put them in the fire? So I went to the fireplace, and it was all lit and everything, and I threw all the handkerchiefs in the fire. So I had to do what I was told. So I come back, and she said, what have you done? So I said, I put the handkerchiefs in the fire. And then she started calling me all kinds of names, and she had a pot that was hanging down over the fireplace, and she didn't tell me to put them in the pot in the fireplace. And I thought it was funny for her to tell me to throw a handkerchief in the fire, but I thought I better do what she told me. So with that, she lifted up her hand, slapped me across the face, knocked me down on the ground, and of course I was crying because I thought I was doing what she told me to do. So the next thing I knew is that my mother come and got me. Now I didn't know anything of where my mother was at this time, but I think she put us in the convent so she could make some money, so she could go to England to where her first daughter was from her first husband who had died. So I remember walking home with her, and Mom said I was filthy dirty. I had bugs and old sweater on me, and I was filthy, just like Cinderella. So she brought me home, and then from then we went to England, and that's a different story. But it's a great story. So that's all for now. Bye-bye. Hello again. You know, I did love the boarding house because of the singing and the happiness of all the people. And Mother had big urns to make tea in, and it was kind of brass, and she'd have the boys, the young men, just clean that off on Sunday, and everybody would be kind of putting some stuff on other people's faces, and we'd get into all that kind of fun stuff. And of course, they played cards at night, and they were always having the weekends with a little dancing and Mom playing the accordion. So it was a wonderful life. And of course, everything changes, and then all of a sudden we hear about war. So then come the war, and we saw it on the movies and everything, but didn't think it was going to come right to us. So one night I went to see my girlfriends, and there was a real good movie on that we wanted to see. So the three of us went to it, and it was just a little bit out of town, not too far, but it was on a hill, and you could look down, you know, at the city. So anyway, about halfway through it, a plane came through, and it dropped a couple of bombs, so that it came on the screen. Now, if you want to go home, you can. If you want to stay here in the theater, you can also do that. So us three girls chose to stay there. So it was getting on, you know, and we were in the front seats just to look at the picture real good. So it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, and we could hear all the bombs dropping outside. So, but I wanted to go to the ladies' room, and I wanted my two girlfriends to come with me. They said, "No, Mary, you go on your own. We don't want to go." So I kept saying, "Oh, please, oh, please, oh, please." So finally they said, "Oh, all right." So the three of us went up to the ladies' room. We came out of there, and I said, "Well, let's not go down the front. Let's just sit at the back here, because maybe something happens and we can rush out real quick." Not thinking about it really, but just said those words. So all right, they said. So we sat at the back. There was a lot of people on the floor sitting by the door at the back. So all of a sudden, the bombs kept dropping, and there was two that come in real close, and right enough. There was two big bangs in the theater, and the theater went on fire in front of my eyes, and I jumped up, and I ran outside, down the steps, and out into the street, and then I was afraid I was out there because the whole Coventry city, what we just walked up from, was all on fire. So anyway, then I thought, oh, I better run in and see where my friends are. So I ran back, and they were coming out. One came out, and then the other came out, and then they were lifting up people and bringing them out, bleeding and all this, and they were all lying on the ground, and they were crying, and the girlfriends were crying because the boyfriend had been hit. And then an ambulance came some time during that time, and my friend said, "Mary, we better get in the cab because you're bleeding." And I realized that I had been hit on the head with something, and so the three of us ran out to get into the cab thing that was out there waiting. Somehow or another it got through, and I sat there and I looked, and I said to my friends, "Look, I can walk. It's no problem. I'm just bleeding from the head." So we got out the car, and they were carrying somebody out to the car that couldn't walk. So that's why I got out. So then the three of us thought we'd run up to a shelter up the street. So okay, that's what we tried to do. And all the shop windows were broken, and all the things that were in the shops were thrown out on the sidewalk. So we had to climb up all over shoes and books and this and that until we got to the park. And then we went down into what do they call them?
Shelter.
The bomb shelters. And of course I went in, and I had a new dress on. It was all blood, and my coat was all blood, and there was little children. So I pulled up my coat over my head because I didn't want them to see, and my hair was full of ash and everything when the bomb came down. So now we sat there until they played the all clear. So when all clear calm, the three of us came out. I went with my friend to her mother's. It wasn't far from the theater. And then I had to go, I couldn't go through downtown because it was all on fire. So I found a way to go by a park and a roundabout so I'd get to where I lived. So when I got to where I lived, all the houses was down in the middle of the street. And I thought, oh my goodness, I hope Mom's all right. So I started climbing up all over this debris and into a house which all the windows were broke and the doors were hanging off. And I ran in and I shouted, Mom, Mom. I went upstairs, I did everything. I went down to the basement and nobody was there. So then I knew there was a shelter down the street. So I was scared stiff, of course. The bombs were still dropping. And then I ran out, and I think they had just stopped then. The daylight was coming. And then I climbed all the way down, all over the houses that were knocked down, and I went to where my mom used to go, onto a big store where they had this place, a shelter. So, of course, all the lights were out, nothing worked, and I went in, and it was packed with people. I knew that, and I kept shouting, Mother, Mother, Mother. And then finally she heard me, and I'm over here, I'm over here. So I had to kind of go towards her voice. So then I found my mother and my brother, and the three of us came back, and we climbed up all over that rubble and debris and everything, and we got to the house. So now Mom was back home, and people were coming from all over that knew Mom and say, Mrs. Delaney, everything I have is gone. I have nothing. So Mom, somehow or another, she got water from a lady that had saved water, and she made tea, and she was making tea nearly all day. So I went into the bedroom, and I was filthy because of all the ash and everything. And so I spit on a handkerchief and tried to wipe around my eyes, and I just fell down on the bed, and I went to sleep. So now I don't know how long I slept, but it was the evening, and the sirens had sounded again. And they said, everybody in the house, we've got to get out of here. So my dad came, and he led the way while all the bombs were dropping. And he would just say to Mom and my brother and myself and a couple of the boarders, fall down, right down on the ground, cover your head. Because of the shrapnel flying when the bombs dropped. So we walked, I don't know, many miles out to my sister in the country. So we got there and we got in, and then all we could hear was anti-craft guns. And they shook the house that my sister had in the country, but at least we were out of the town. So then Mother went back in the morning, and I didn't. And then she came back in the evening, and she said, tomorrow we're going to leave to go to Ireland because you could go for free. So we went back that morning to the boarding house. She opened up a drawer, and there was some pictures of myself when I was small and my brother small, and a lot of little pictures like that. And I had my dad's boxing gloves on, and I looked at them and thought, what do I want with this? So I threw them back in the drawer. Mistake. I would have loved to have had them. So then, of course, we went down to the train station. And to go to the train station, we had to walk all over this rubble till we got there. And that was a job right then. But we got on the train, and all this was free. That's what came over loudspeaker. And we were on our way to Ireland. So I'll stop right there now. That was it. Here I am again. We left school at 14. Most of the children left school at 14. And they get you a job and everything. But I got a job at the picture house. And they wore uniforms and all that kind of stuff. Did I tell the story before, Joe? About the border? I did. And now I think I've got a relapse.
Coming home late.
Oh, coming home late, yeah. So Mother, I was very young, but I used to go dancing because all the girls went dancing. But she said, you have to be home at a certain time. So this time we missed the bus. There was 3 girls, and I got in late. Well, she put the trunk in front of the door where by the bedroom, because she knows me, of course. So I thought, oh, I'm going to get in trouble as soon as I go in. So I go in, and of course I run for the bedroom. Mom's sitting waiting for me, and I fell over the box, of course. And she had a big stick there, and she let me have it. So she said, now you remember what I said. When I tell you to be home at such a time, you have to be home at a certain time. So that was Mom, and I'm glad she was like that. So we went on like that, and I worked in the factories, and on munitions then. The war started, and that was a whole different thing. But we had to go out to a secret place to make different things for the forces and that. So then all of a sudden, you know, the Americans came. And they came in, and then they started going to the dances and everything. And so that's why I'm here in America, because I met an American. And it was just a very nice person I met coming home from the dance then. And he said he was just in Coventry for 2 days, and they were leaving that day. So that's when I first